Today's fairy tale is a bloody, spooky Irish story called The Black Thief and the Knight of the Glen. There's a king and queen who have 3 sons. They're super in love, but of course the queen dies. As she's dying, she calls her husband to her side and says, "My dying wish," and thankfully it's not marry someone who looks just like me, like happens in a lot of stories where the king then goes after his own daughter. She says, "I want you to take our 3 sons, put them in a tower in an island in the middle of the sea, and have them grow up there until they come of age so that they may never be under the jurisdiction of any other woman. Give them tutors and people to train them, but no women. That is all. Farewell." So she dies, and the king follows her orders, puts his sons in this tower in a kind of reverse Rapunzel. After a few years, the king's advisors are like, "You need to get married again." He marries this princess who's beautiful and rich. They have a son together, and the new queen does not know about his other sons until one day she's talking to a henwife. Henwives in folklore are technically women who look after birds, but they're also sometimes midwives, wise women, maybe witches. This one's just a troublemaking snitch because she's like, "You don't even know what danger you're in, girl." The queen's like, "What are you talking about?" Henwife is like, "Oh, just something that's dangerous to you and your child, but I'm not going to tell you unless you give me a pack of wool, a crock full of butter, and a barrel full of wheat." The queen gives her all those things, and she says, "Hey, he's got these 3 other sons that are in a tower somewhere, and if you don't get rid of them, they're going to inherit everything. You and your son are going to be left with nothing." The queen's like, "What do I do?" And the henwife is like, "Tell your husband to let them out of the tower, that they're pretty much grown now, and invite them to play cards with you. But when they play cards with you, you have to put a guise at stake." And a guise, if you're familiar with Holly Black's Folk of the Air series, like The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, you know what a guise is. It's like a spell or a curse that you go into, a vow that you can't break. Part of a bargain. So anyway, the queen does this. She has the king get them out. The 3 sons play cards against her. The first 2 lose, so she's able to put them under a guise. But the 3rd son, our protagonist, pretty much wins, and so he has to put her under a guise. The queen's instruction for the older 2 brothers are that they have to bring her the Knight of the Glen's wild steed of bells, or they're going to get their heads cut off. The youngest son says, "Well, I'm going to go with my brothers to help them, and my guise on you, since I won, is that you have to stand at the top of the highest tower out in the elements with nothing but a sheaf of corn for your food, cold water for your drink, and you have to wait there for us even if it's 7 years." The brothers set out and come across this old man who's got a black cap on his head, and he tells them he is the Thief of Sloan, or the Black Thief, because of his cap. The brothers tell him what they're doing, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are gonna die because I've been trying to steal that steed for 7 years. It's got these silk coverings on its stable that are covered with bells, and they go off if you come near him, and then the knight will take you and burn you in a fiery furnace." Brothers are like, "Well, if we don't do it, our stepmom's gonna kill us when we go home, so we're gonna do it this way." And then the old man is like, "You know what? I'll come with you." So the 4 of them go, the bells go off, they get caught, and the knight brings them into his furnace and says, "All right, we're gonna burn the oldest son first." And the Black Thief says, "I was as close to death once as the oldest son is now, and I escaped, and I bet he will too." Then the knight says, "Well, how is that? I'd like to hear this story because it sounds impossible." The Black Thief says, "If I tell you the story and the danger I was in is worse than this guy's, will you pardon him?" And the knight says, "You know what? Yeah." He says he came upon 3 witches sleeping on 3 bags of gold so that they could keep specifically him from stealing them, but he managed to steal it by replacing the bags with turf. So he runs off with the bags of gold. The witches take the form of a greyhound, a hare, and a hawk and chase him, and he ends up in this tree where they change themselves into a smith's anvil, a piece of iron, and a hatchet and start chopping the tree down. But just as they were about to get the tree down, the cock crows and they have to leave because they're witches and they don't want to get found out, and so he got away right before they were going to catch him. The knight's like, "Yeah, you win. I'll pardon this guy. You were pretty near death. Now let's kill the second one." And of course the thief says, "Well, if I tell you another story about how I narrowly escaped death, will you pardon this guy?" And he's like, yeah, I'm down." And this one's wild. The thief had heard that a bishop had been buried with all of his jewels and riches on, so he goes to rob his grave. He's in this dark tunnel down where his tomb is, and he hears someone coming, so he hides in the darkness, and it's another thief, so he shoots that thief. Well, then a bunch of guards come in, and they're like, "Who's in there?" And he holds up the body of the thief, and he's like pretending like it's trying to run out at them. They shoot the body, he throws it on the ground, and then hides in the shadows again, and then they find the body, and they're like, "Oh, this was the thief. We killed him. We can all go now." And then he was able to just take his treasure and go. The knight's like, "Yeah, that was a great story. I'll pardon the second." And then you can tell he's starting to soften, and he likes these stories because he's like, "I'd really like to pardon the 3rd one, but you probably don't have another story." But the thief's like, "Yes, I do." And the knight's like, "All right, tell me. This is the wildest one." One day the thief came upon a castle where there was a woman sitting there crying and holding a baby. And he's like, "Why are you crying?" And she's like, "Well, there's this giant who lives here and he's keeping me captive. He told me to cook this baby into a pie so he can eat it, but I don't want to kill and cook this baby." The thief's like, it's cool. They kill a pig, bake it into a pie, but they cut off the kid's finger and make that stick out of the pie so that later when the giant comes back, he sees the finger and he believes it's really the kid. While the woman is tricking him with the pie, she has told our guy to go hide with all the corpses that are upstairs in like his stores of humans to eat. Giant's still hungry after he eats the pie, so he goes up there to like grab a corpse to munch on, and he grabs the thief and just cuts off part of his thigh and walks away and eats it because he like kept quiet while he's cutting the meat off because he thought he was dead. He manages to blind the giant in very like Polyphemus fashion, and he runs away, and the giant throws a magic ring at him. The ring leaps on his toe and keeps yelling to the giant where he is. It's like he put a tracking device on him, and the thief can't get it off, so he cuts off his own toe, puts it in a lake, and then the giant jumps in the lake and drowns trying to get to him. So he lost a toe and part of his thigh, but that's why he's alive now. And so suddenly an old woman who has been listening the whole time comes forward and says to the knight, "My lord, this is true, for I am the woman who was in the giant's castle, and you, my lord, were the child that we saved. You remember how you don't have a finger? That's because we cut it off. You were the baby in the story." The knight's like, "Oh my god, this thief is my deliverer? Oh, not only do I pardon you all, you're gonna stay here and feast like princes." So they do, and then they go home victorious with the horse. But the wicked queen, who's been on the tower the whole time, hears bells ringing at a distance off announcing that they're coming home victorious, and so she, through spite and vexation, threw herself off the tower and shattered herself to pieces rather than deal with whatever punishment they would bring. And the three princes lived happily ever after and always kept the black thief with them, living well because they owed him everything after all. As always, check out my book, Dust Spells, and my podcast. All the links are in the bio.